Welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to share with you my Lightsworn deck profile. Now Lightsworn is a very beloved deck. It's the ultimate mill/RNG deck in entire Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's a deck that kind of stood the test of time up to this very day in some kind, shape, or form. So I really like this deck a lot. I think it's a very fun deck to pick up if you just want to have a good time. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. But before we jump right into the video itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's helped a ton. Let me know in the comments down below, how do you build your own Lightsworn deck, because Lightsworns are very different for every single player. And also, basically give a like to the video if you enjoyed. But without further ado, let's jump right in the video itself. Alright, so for the Lightsworn list itself, I'm just going to say this right now, this list is actually going to be done differently. I'm not going to jump into monsters, spells, and traps. I'm actually going to talk about engines specifically, which is the Lightsworn engine, the Chaos engine, additional another engine, and then the generic stuff, because I feel like Lightsworn is a deck that needs a little bit more explanation for its engines, because there's so many decks and different variants for everybody what they like to run specifically, and I want to explain my ideas of why I run some certain cards together, like as an engine, rather than just like, oh, I explain I run one of these, and then people don't really understand why I run only one card specific way, and some people run it the other way. Also, to mention the fact that Lightsworn is an RNG-based deck, so every game is a little bit different, so sometimes the extra deck there's some particular things I want more that I don't have, so it's really depend on what you want to run specifically and what you are facing. But now let's jump right into the list itself. So start things off, we're going to start with the 1 copy of Judgment Dragon, the 3 copies of Raiden, which one of them apparently fell to the floor, so I needed to pick them up for a second. The 3 copies of Wolf, the 1 copy of Lumina, the 1 copy of Dark Lumina, the 1 copy of Minerva, the small one, the 1 copy of Lila, and then 3 copies of Charge of the Light Brigade. This is the 14-card engine for Lightsworn that I run in the deck. Now, originally, or should I say not originally, but in the previous list, I only run 10, or should I say 11 cards, with 3 of Charge of the Light Brigade, and then a Raikou instead of a Lila. I didn't have this, I didn't have this, and I didn't have Judgment Dragon. But because of the reason why I wanted to make this more of a Lightsworn deck, and because people asked me to make this a little bit more of a bigger Lightsworn engine, I decided to add 3 additional cards, which I think is pretty respectable. Just increase the engine size by like 25%, a little bit less, but it's still really big. And then I'm actually just going to explain why I run certain cards specifically. So the reason why I only run 10 Lightsworns is because, I'm going to say this, and to be honest, a lot of the Lightsworn's effects are not really the best if you don't see their friends, or they're just specifically very dependent on stuff. In the case of Lumina, I wanted to run more copies, but I felt like if I don't have a Lightsworn already engraved, it's really dead. In the case of Felice, it's just a card that really depend on monster effects, which I don't really have a lot of milling monster effects compared to things like Charter of the Light Brigades or other cards as well. So it's like, I don't really like to depend too much on cards that really depend on specific milling, unlike Wolf, which can also be Foolish Burial, can be sent by Charter of the Light Brigades and stuff like that. So I felt like Felice is a little bit worse, but it's definitely a card that if you want to consider, you can run. The last card that I would consider to maybe run, but I decided to not to, is Solar Recharge, because I don't run a bigger Lightsworn engine. If I run the 60-card Lightsworn deck and I run like about 20 Lightsworns, maybe I would run Recharge of the Light Brigade, but the problem with, not Charter of the Light Brigade, Solar Recharge, but the problem with Solar Recharge is things like Ash Blossoms and stuff like that, that if it becomes a neg, it's such a big neg compared to things like Charter of the Light Brigade, that you at least get the 3 mills, which is really good for the deck regardless. So that's why I don't really like Solar Recharge, but if you want to play Solar Recharge as 1, 2, or maybe 3, you're more than welcome to. And you can change things however you want. In the case of Lila, specifically why I chose her instead of Raikou is because her effect can always be activated, unlike Raikou, which need only on normal summon, like the Dark Raikou. And mostly the cards I want to pop are spells and traps, so that's why I decided to go with Lila. She's also a light, which I actually need more lights than dark for some particular reasons, so that's why I decided to go with her. Minerva is here to be another basically summon for Hockey Fibrex from deck if I'm going into that and already open up with Plague Spreader Zombie, as well as another mill. She has her own little uses, so that's why I also like to run her at 1. Dark Lumina is here to help you more in the grind game. She is useful sometimes, but she's more of like a grind game card. And then Light Lumina is basically here if you already have a Raiden engrave, or specifically you want to pitch something specifically and you have the ability to search her witch out of the Light Brigade. Now, like I said, if you want to run 3 copies of her or 2 copies of her, by all means. I just think like 1 copy is more than enough for me because I don't really use her that much, and you don't always want to use your entire hand as a resource. As for Wolf, Wolf is Wolf. It doesn't really need explanation. It is a bad card to draw, but it is what it is. And then we have Raiden, which is the only mill during your own turn. The last monster that I run only at 1 is Judgment Dragon, because I feel I don't need more than 1 Judgment Dragon. It's also the card that you can cut down if you want a second Lumina. But the reason why I like Judgment Dragon is because I can search it with Chaos Space, and just in general, it's not the worst card in the world sometimes to draw because it is the discardable card. You could recover it with things like Starlord Seyfried if you want to, and it's more of like sometimes just a body that I summon if I have 4 Lightsworns engraved, which I do have basically a decent number of names. I have like 6 names in this deck, so it's still decent to maybe happen, and I think this is a decent enough of an engine. Then moving on into the Chaos Engine, which is the next engine I want to talk about. Chaos Engine is an engine that consists of 10 cards, which is the 2 copies of Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, which apparently I confused also with Chaos Creator. So 2 copies of Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, 2 copies of Chaos Creator, 1 copy of Valkyria, 1 copy of Black, and 1 copy of White. And then, of course, the 3 copies of Chaos Space. These are the cards that you want to run when it comes to Chaos, which let me a second to arrange this, because apparently the confusion with these cards really confused me how to put these on my side of the screen. But anyway, these are the lineup of Chaos Monsters that I decided to run with. Now, of course, there are some people who like to run only 6 Chaos Monsters or even 5, and some people even just don't like specifically run this lineup and run also to run Armageddon or Dyna or even Chaos Betrayer, which I was actually considered to maybe run. I decided to go with these 7 and Chaos Space because of my own reasons. I think Chaos Dragon Legionnaire is a great card, and it's a lot more easier to summon than I gave it credit for. Because it can use a combination, so sometimes you do skip on the effect of like popping a card and actually during your turn you have to use Lights and Dark to summon it, and unfortunately you're going to lose something, but at least you're going to get the extender, so that's at least something nice. In the case of Chaos Creator, it's just a great card for recovery, and just in general not that hard monster to summon. And then these guys are just your baby ones to help you use your Light and Darks Engrave. These 2 specifically are really good because they can get each other, and they can also get you Heretic Seal, so that's also really cool about them. And then the last card, Chaos Space, obviously is Chaos Space. It's grab you whatever you need from this, which is really nice. So these 7 and Chaos Space is the engine that I run for Chaos. I felt like this is just all what I need, but if you want to run more or change the list itself for what you want specifically, you're more than welcome to. Now we're going to move into the rest of the deck with the last engine that I want to talk about. Instead, we're going to move in before the generic stuff, and that is the Danger Engine with 2 copies of Nessie, 2 copies of Mothman, 1 copy of Tsuchinoko, and then the 1 copy of Jackalope. These 6 dangers, in my opinion, are the only dangers that you need to run. You could run specifically Chupacabra, Bigfoot, maybe even Thunderbird, but I felt like these do what they need to do. Nessie is just helping you to search another one of these if you want to. Mothman is a way to discard or get a level 4, as well. Just in general, it's just really helpful. Jackalope is a way to get another extender, and Tsuchinoko is just an extender all the time, so that's why I really like those guys. And I don't really think I need to explain these way too much. And then for the last stuff, which is the last of the cards that I run in the deck, which is the last 10 cards, I run 2 copies of Malicious, 1 copy of Starlord Seyfried, Trick Clown, Plague the Zombie, Reinforcement in the Army, Foolish Burial, Monster Reborn, War Legacy Succession, and Imperial Order. These are the 10 last cards that I decided to go with. You can change these however you like, depending on what you want specifically. Imperial Order is what I choose for my win condition. If this gets banned in the latest ban list, which should come up, I think, at the end of this week, changes for Christia and just change a little bit of the aspect of the extra deck, which we'll talk about that when we'll get to it. But this is felt to me a lot more impactful than Christia, because it can also lock things like Dark Ruler and Droplets, which are really, really annoying to break decks that are, you know, break my board's decks. Which Lightsworn, I wouldn't say it's like the main thing, but like, if I can get this to my side of the field and just survive for OTK next turn, why not? Then, in the case of these two are just monster reborn-like cards if I want specific something from the graveyard, or just in generally, I got Nibiru, or I need an extender. These are really good. I was considering maybe changing this to something else, but I just really like the card very, very much to play it. Foolish Burial to get you whatever you need to grave. Reinforcement of the Army to get you specifically the Radiance to your hand, so you have a 7th copy. Plague Spreader Zombie. Put a card that you don't want to in the top of your deck and summon it back, something like a Wolf, and then you can mill it with Charge or anything else. That's actually really nice. Trick Clown, because it's Trick Clown. Starlead Seyford, because I want another way to see my baby dragons and other stuff like that. And then Malicious itself, because I just really like how good of an extender this is with Chaos Creator. I was considering cutting this down completely and then just play like things like Zephyrs the Elite and like Chupacabra, but I just want to give this card a little bit of a try, so that's why I decided to run this card at, at 2, because, you know, this can become a 1-card 2 extenders regardless in this deck because of Chaos Creator. So that's my reason, but again, I might decide to cut it down because Malicious could be a little bit inconsistent because it's a level 6. But that pretty much does it for the main deck. 40 cards, that's the lineup that I like to run. Now we'll move on into the extra deck. And for the extra deck, we have 5 non-link monsters with Chaotic Magical Dragon, the Savage Dragon, Abyss Dweller, Minerva the Xyz version, and then number 38. These are the non-link monsters that I run in the deck. Again, like I said in the beginning of the video, these are really depend specifically for some particular situations. I want some others, like Abyss Dweller is probably the only card I would say, like in this one, that I want to cut from some time to time because it's not always useful. But for the most part, these 5 are the cards that I would say probably going to stay. Because Horb Harbinger is really good with your level 8s, especially with this one if you're making this, because then you can just have this come back next turn and not banish itself and still become a resource. And it's also a spell negate. Minerva, the small one, you sometimes summon this because you cannot summon the Curious, and it's still like mill 3 cards, so that's pretty decent. Abyss Dweller, because it's Abyss Dweller, for some particular situations. Savage, because it's Savage. And then this card, because it's absolutely broken to mill the top 5 cards of your deck, and then pick specifically one of them that is light and dark to your hand, and then mill the rest of them is still absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that it also can summon itself back is insane on top of it. And then for the Link monsters themselves, we have 10 of them, of course. 1 copy of Striker Dragon, 1 copy of Erratic Seal, 1 copy of Huggy Firebrax, Phoenix, Unicorn, Curious, Appaloosa, Griffin, Saryuya, and Boral Sword Dragon. These are the 10 Link monsters that I decided to go with. Like I said before, these could sometimes be changing to something else that I want, because it's really depend on the toolbox of specific game, or specifically how I feel from time to time, but for now, this is what I'm rocking. Boral Sword doesn't really need any explanation, it's OTK tool. If you have access code, play it instead, but I don't, so I'm playing this. Saryuya is just Saryuya. Saryuja Skoldrade is just a great card. Although sometimes I don't really like it because of the fact that it does take 4 resources to get the draw 4 and all that stuff, but it's still sometimes good to just make this with 3 to get a free resource out of your hand with a greater of ease, so that is very nice. Griffin is here because of the fact that he gets you back the Imperial Order. However, he needs to be co-linked to activate this effect, so do keep that in mind when you're playing him. So if you play him and you don't have anything linked, his effect will not work, because it need to be co-linked, because his effect also make other monsters that are not linked and stuff like that into, well, I guess, not able to activate. Actually, it doesn't need to be co-linked, but it need to be linked. Let's just say that. He need to be pointed by an arrow or some point to actually basically protect himself from his own floodgate-like effect to then activate his effect. It's kind of like a weird thing with this guy, but it's still really important card for the combo with Imperial Order. Appaloosa is just Appaloosa but with a goddess. Curious is just to get Imperial Order if I need it to my graveyard and I need to sacrifice the 3 monsters for that. Sometimes you have to do that. Unicorn and Phoenix to remove stuff. Haki Firebrax in order to get the Plague Spreader out of your deck if you have like a charge. So you can get Plague Spreader and then you can make like a link to another one or something else that you want to. and then you just use the Plague Spreader effect to just put a card on the top of your deck, and then activate Charge, and then if you put like a Wolf or something, you can get it back to your side of the field immediately, and there you go, you get yourself another extender. Then these two is because of the Black and White Dragon, because you can make this really easily and get yourself another interruption, and also trigger their effects. But that's pretty much does it for the deck profile as a whole. Hope you enjoyed this one. Lightsworn is really fun, but it is based on RNG, so do keep that in mind when you're playing the deck. I do like it a lot, but like I said, it's very, very RNG based, so it's more for fun in my opinion than anything else. But that's pretty much does it for the deck. Now let's move on into the next deck choices. Alright, so for the next deck choices, we have 3 options basically returning from the last video, which are Zombie World, Lyrilusk, which I'm hoping the next time it's already going to be after the ban list and we're going to see what is going to go up with them, and the last one is Dual Avatar. These are the 3 options that I presented for last week, and then for the 4th option, I actually had a little bit of a hard time thinking about it because I didn't really know what I want to do for a very, very long time. But I thought to myself, why not give another spin for Marincess before we're going to get the new support just one final time, before we're going to get the new support in May, just right now, to see how the deck is functioning and what basically are the good cards to maybe pick up if you haven't picked them up yet. So yeah, these are the 4 options: Marincess, Lyrilusk, what are called Zombie World, and Dual Avatar. Let me know in the comments down below, from these 4 options, which one would you like to see? So yeah, that's pretty much does it for that, and does it for the video as a whole. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.